All right, today we're going to explore a pretty radical idea about the great test of life. What if it's not some epic battle of good versus evil? What if instead it's a test of perception, a test of what you choose to see?
So, this whole framework kicks off with a really provocative question. What if the force we call evil isn't just some chaotic, random thing, but something more like a precise, almost scientific, optical filter?
So yeah, a test of perception. How does that actually work? Well, the core idea here is that our biggest spiritual challenge isn't really about our strength, but about our focus, what we choose to look at, and how we choose to see it. According to this model, the entire spiritual test, the whole thing, serves just one core function: separation. The Arabic term for this is Furqan, which means something like a criterion or a distinguisher. And we're not talking about physically separating people. It's a much deeper split, a split in vision and consciousness, and, yeah, ultimately, in your destiny.
Okay, but what governs this whole process of separation? You can almost think of it like a kind of spiritual physics. There's a fundamental law that makes this filter work the way it does.
And that law, it's stated with just incredible clarity in the Qur'an, right here in verse 34:21. Honestly, this single verse is the bedrock of the entire model. It says the whole point of this test is specifically to distinguish the one who believes in the hereafter from the one who's in doubt about it. That's the whole game right there.
And this brings us to the mechanism itself, the Razīm filter. Now, the word Razim is usually translated as the rejected or the stoned, and it refers to Iblis. But in this optical model, it's not a person, it's a function. Its purpose isn't to force you to do anything, it's simply to diffract your perception, to bend your spiritual sight.
Now this is where it gets really interesting, because you can see the two outcomes. The believer, right, their focus on the hereafter lets them pass straight through the filter, clean, like a focus beam of light. But the doubter, they get captivated by the surface of the filter, all the illusions of this world, and their energy just gets scattered and trapped in the reflection, kind of like fire.
So, if there's a filter, where is it operating? What's the interface? The next part of our optical system is the lens itself, the very surface where this light and this fire actually interact. The filter projects its image onto something. And in this framework, that interface is the human heart. It's conceptualized as a piece of glass, or zujaja, and this is a direct shout-out to the Qur'an's famous verse of light. So the heart becomes the surface where the choice is made. Do we see through it to what's real, or do we get stuck on its reflection?
So the crucial question is, what's filling this glass? If your heart is filled with light, the light of revelation, it becomes a transparent window. It reveals the deep, underlying truth of things. But if it's filled with fire, the illusions of pride, of worldly desires, it just acts as a mirror. It reflects back this dazzling but ultimately fake heaven. You know, think of the endless scroll on social media, that perfectly curated reflection of success and happiness that just isn't real. That is the fake heaven in action.
It's a really powerful idea. But how does it actually play out? Well, the Qur'an gives us two incredible examples that show this exact principle of shattering the reflection.
Our first case study is the super fascinating story of Harut and Marut. A good way to think about their story is like a small-scale fractal. It's a miniature version of the grand spiritual separation that we've been talking about.
The key verse here, you'll notice, explicitly mentions separation. The magic they taught caused a literal divorce between a man and his wife, but this model suggests that was just a symbol of a much, much deeper divorce.
And right here is where we see the spiritual transaction laid out. They made a conscious choice for the illusion of power, for magic, over truth. And in doing that, they basically performed a much bigger divorce. They divorced their soul's true partner, which is the hereafter, so they could marry the fleeting promises of this world. It was a trade, a choice to accept being separated from divine light, all for what the verse calls a miserable price.
Now, the second case study is even more dramatic. It's the death of Prophet Solomon, who commanded, the greatest kingdom you can even imagine on earth. His death is this powerful demonstration of how worldly illusions, no matter how grand, always collapse.
Just listen to the quiet, stunning simplicity of this verse. The most powerful king on the planet, commanding armies of humans, jinn, and animals, stood there, dead, just propped up by his staff. And the whole grand illusion was broken by the smallest of creatures, a termite, just doing its thing, eating his staff.
The implication here is just massive. Solomon's kingdom was the ultimate reflection of a fake heaven on earth, and his quiet death, revealed by this lowly creature, shattered that reflection completely. It proved that all worldly power is temporary, it's just an illusion.
Okay, so let's bring all these pieces together. We can finally visualize the whole system and see the two very distinct spiritual paths that split off right at that single interface, the human heart.
This table just lays it out perfectly. Let's walk through it. On one side, you've got the believer. Their input is light, from revelation. Their interaction is to look through the glass of their heart and see light upon light, deeper and deeper reality. This confirms their belief in the hereafter, and their outcome is a return, an ascension. Now the other side, the doubter. Their input is the fire of pride. Their interaction is to look at the glass and see only a reflection of themselves. They get trapped, doubting the hereafter, and their outcome is a final tragic divorce from reality itself.
So what's the ultimate takeaway from this whole optical model? What does it mean for how we should see our own spiritual journey?
So the Razím function, then, is to project this alluring reflection, this fake heaven of worldly distractions, onto the surface of our hearts. The spiritual separation happens right there. People who fall in love with the reflection get separated from the truth that lies beyond it. But those who discipline their sight to look through the glass, they see the real heaven, the hereafter.
It's such a powerful way to reframe everything. That verse, 34:21, it becomes the law of optics for the soul. And in this system, Iblis isn't some warlord you're fighting. He's more like a contrast die, an agent whose only function is to make the separation, to make the choice perfectly visible.
And that really leaves us with one final, deeply personal question. After going through this entire model, the crucial point comes down to this. In your own life, with your own heart, are you looking at the reflection, or are you looking through the glass?